They didn't notice her at first. She moved too quietly for that. Just another logistics tech on the carrier deck, clipboard tucked under one arm, gloves on tight, hair pinned back clean beneath the cranial. Her coveralls had no nameplate, no rank, just a faint patch with faded wings, barely visible. The young air crews called her Box Ghost, behind her back. Not out of cruelty, just because she seemed to appear, load cargo, and vanish without speaking. She didn't joke, didn't smoke, didn't eat with the others in the brake pod. She just walked the deck like she could feel the vibration before the catapult fired. Morales noticed her first, new to the line, still learning the rhythm of the flight schedule. His job was minor, gear counts, tie-downs, keeping the comms cart powered. But she stood out. Not for what she said, she barely spoke, but for how she moved. She never looked surprised when the warning lights flashed. She turned before the blasts. Once, she waved a junior crew member out of the danger zone seconds before the launch siren activated, like she could feel the tension build in the steel under her boots. Nobody else saw that, but Morales did. He started watching her from the edge of the lift, the way she scanned the jets with her eyes only, how she checked the fuel line angle by the way the pipes settled in the wind. No tools, no questions. One day, someone cracked a joke near the refuel station. "Hey, if she's flown anything more than a forklift, I'll eat my boots." The others laughed. She didn't look up. She just locked a latch, stepped off the platform, and disappeared toward the port elevator. Morales turned to the one who laughed. "Did you see her hand?" "Huh. Left wrist. Under the glove." "What about it?" Morales shook his head. "Scar line. 2 inches. Right where the deck cable would have caught someone bailing out of a fast chair." The guy went quiet, but said nothing. And Morales kept watching. Because she didn't walk like she belonged under jets. She walked like she'd once sat inside one. By the end of the week, the jokes had turned into a kind of routine. Someone would see her lift a crate solo, or reset a tie-down strap faster than the new guys, and throw out something like, "She must have been a ninja in another life," or, "Bet she still thinks she's in Top Gun." She never responded. Not once. Just kept her eyes on the manifest sheets, and the catapult rhythm. It annoyed some of them, that stillness. Like she thought she was above it, maybe. Morales knew better. He started timing her walk. Not to be weird. Just curious. She crossed from the comms cart to the jet line in exact intervals, every time. 5 seconds between turns. 2 seconds still at the rail. 1 second glance at the windsock. Never wasted motion. Once, during a deck scramble, they brought up a training jet with a calibration fault. No one caught it right away. Except her. She tapped twice on the side panel and held her hand there, eyes narrowed, like she was waiting for it to speak, then said quietly, "Cooling lines offer them." The tech frowned. "How can you even hear that?" She didn't answer. But when they ran the diagnostics, she was right. Later that day, Morales found her checking cables near the arresting gear, alone. He stepped closer. "Where'd you learn to read engine tone like that?" he asked. She didn't look at him, just said, "Tone's not the hard part. It's knowing when not to listen." He almost asked what she meant, but the way she stood, one hand on the steel rail, eyes soft, far away, he didn't. That night, Morales searched the carrier logs. There were no records of her past postings, no call sign, no pilot certs. Just one classified entry from 7 years ago. Location: Coastal SAR Intercept. Status: Blackout Evac. Crew unnamed. Commander commended. B7. For stabilizing approach under zero visibility night ops. That was it. V7. He said it under his breath. Didn't know what it meant yet. But something in him knew. He'd heard her voice before. Just not here. Not like this. It was early evening, just before rotation. Clouds had rolled in from the north, flattening the light across the carrier deck. Flights were behind schedule. Crew tempers were short. Morales was hauling refuel cables back toward the lift when he heard raised voices near the storage pallets. "Come on," someone said. "We're not even allowed to know your name?" It was Wexler, new tech, loud, restless. Always needed to prove something. The woman stood beside a grounded container, hand on the manifest sheet. Calm, not flinching. Wexler stepped closer. "You won't salute, won't joke, won't even sit in the break room. What are you, some ghost pilot that washed out?" She didn't move, didn't blink. Wexler smirked. "What, no comeback?" "That's right. Because ghosts don't talk." Morales started walking faster. Then Wexler said something no one forgot. Or maybe you used to fly, and lost your nerve. She turned her head. Not fast, just slowly. And her eyes met his, not angry, but steady. Cold wind over still water. She removed one glove. Her left wrist was lined with an old scar, a tight diagonal curve. And just above it, faint but unmistakable, the edge of a tattoo. It wasn't showy. Just 3 clean lines, a wave curling under a wing. And between them, the number 7. Wexler's smile faltered. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Morales got there a second later. That's enough, he said. Wexler looked at him. You know what that means? Morales nodded. V7 isn't a number. It's a call sign, Wexler scoffed. Of what? Morales didn't take his eyes off her. Of the pilot who flew Blackout evac through a live storm zone, without radar. No escort. No lights. Silence settled. The air felt heavier. She put the glove back on. Didn't speak. Just walked away, heading toward the forward lift without looking back. No one followed. And Wexler? He didn't joke again. Morales stayed late that night. He wasn't sure why. The shift had ended, the deck lights were dimmed, and most of the crew had cleared below. But he found himself standing near the service terminal, staring at a sealed cabinet behind the avionics desk. He entered a technician code. Typed in V7. Nothing. Then he tried. Call sign archive. Legacy pilots. Still nothing. But when he entered the partial mission code he'd seen in the logs earlier that week, the one buried under black status, evac 47G/Gulf/Nitop, something flickered. A line of redacted text. No audio. No footage. Just one internal memo, marked 7 years back. Pilot executed unsanctioned extraction of wounded JSOC asset under full blackout. Carrier denied approach. She flew in anyway. Another line. Pilot ID never confirmed in public record. Codename registered post-flight, V7. Morales leaned back slowly. No file photo. No flight video. Just words. But they told enough. He shut the screen. Next morning, she was already on the deck. Again. Same gloves. Same walk. The scar hidden. The tattoo covered. Morales walked beside her for a few seconds in silence, then said, You flew the 47G pull. She didn't stop walking. Didn't deny it, but her voice came quiet. Not alone. He nodded. They make it? She looked out toward the sea. 1 didn't. But 4 did. He didn't press her. Didn't ask names. She paused by the HH-60 loading cradle, adjusted a cable by hand, then said, They told me to stand down. I didn't. Morales watched her closely. You weren't grounded, he said. You left. She didn't answer. But the look in her eyes told him he was right. She hadn't been discharged. She'd disappeared on purpose. And now she was back, not for a mission, not for recognition, but just to be near the deck again. To feel the hum of the catapult. To remember what it cost. And maybe, what it gave back. The storm came fast. Not a full-scale squall. Just one of those quick-burst squalls that slammed across the deck without warning. Crosswind hit hard. The cat crew scrambled to shelter. Deck ops halted. But Bird 12 was still out. Training flight. CO recon rotation. 2 candidates aboard, 1 junior flight tech. Standard touch and go. Except the wind shifted. The pilot called for a final pass before landing, but the signal dropped mid-response. Static flooded the channel. Then silence. Command center tried to re-establish. No line. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Morales stood near the shelter bulkhead, headset on, waiting. Everyone looked at the comms officer, who only shook his head. Too much interference. The forward relay dish was out, unresponsive. The signal couldn't punch through the pressure system. Someone muttered, We've got no tower line. No one spoke for a beat. And then, a voice came through. Crackled. Clear. Unmistakable. Echo Tower, shift bearing to 117. Bring your pitch down 4 degrees. If you move now, you've got a 30-second window. Ride the dip. The deck crew froze. Morales knew that voice. He turned. She was holding the emergency headset, clipped to the wall by the auxiliary comms panel. One glove off, eyes steady. The SEAL commander, Keller, was halfway across the deck, heard it through the open comm. He didn't speak right away. Didn't even move. Then he said quietly, V7? She looked up slowly. He stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Say again. She didn't repeat it. just handed the headset to the comms officer, and walked back toward the tie-down cradle without a word. Keller stood there for several seconds. Then he exhaled like something in his chest had just broken loose after years. "She was the one," he said softly. "She flew us out. The night we lost signal off Kazra Ridge." Someone near him blinked. "You mean the Blackout evac?" Keller nodded. "We thought the pilot didn't make it back. No one ever confirmed." He looked back toward her. She was already working again. Same quiet hands, same pace. Like she hadn't just saved 2 lives. Like she hadn't just been remembered. By the next morning, no one called her anything. Not Box Ghost. Not Ninja. Not even Ma'am. They just stepped aside when she passed. The SEAL commander hadn't filed a report. No email had gone out. But the word had moved anyway, quietly. The kind of truth that doesn't need a briefing. She hadn't just saved the comms. She had flown before. And not just a flight. The flight. The one SEALs still talked about in fragments. Like a myth too rough to say out loud. Blackout night. Ridge extraction. No visibility. 0 return rate expected. Until someone flew into the silence. Now she was walking catwalks like none of it mattered. Wexler didn't come near her anymore. Morales noticed the difference most in the crew's body language. They didn't speak to her, not really. But they watched her work, closely. The way you watch someone who already knows more than the manual. She hadn't changed a thing. Still wore the gloves. Still filed the reports by hand. Still disappeared after shift like the sea itself called her name. But they changed. When she stepped onto the lift, no one cut in line. When she paused mid-check, someone offered tools before she asked. Not because she demanded it. Because they understood what silence was worth now. And Keller? He came to her once. Late afternoon. Deck was hot, haze rippling off the steel. He didn't approach from behind. Gave her full view. She was inspecting a tie-down. "Did you really fly us through that ridge?" he asked quietly. She nodded once. "Why'd you leave?" he asked. She didn't look at him. Just replied. "Because I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place." He was quiet. Then softer. "You still hear it?" She paused. "The rotor? The static?" She shook her head. "No. Just the breathe between both." He stepped back with a nod. Didn't salute. Didn't speak again. Just left her to finish her work. She didn't show up for rotation. No message. No call-out. Just absence. The log sheet had her name penciled in for Lift Bravo refueling detail. But when Morales signed in, her line was blank. Someone else had filled the slot. A junior logistics tech who looked nervous just stepping near the tie-down cradle. At first, no one said anything. By noon, Wexler finally asked what they were all thinking. "Is she gone?" No one answered. She didn't take anything from the locker room. Her gear bag still sat where it always had, a frayed duffel, patched in 3 places. But when Morales opened it, only a single item was missing: her gloves. Later that day, Morales found something under the catwalk behind the forward bay, the quiet corner where she used to stand between rotations. It wasn't hidden, just placed there carefully. A folded slip of laminated cardstock, yellowed at the edges, pressed under a tie-down hook. On one side, faded map grid notations, hand-drawn. On the other, a short message in clean, square handwriting. "For the ones who see wind first, not fire." No signature. No mark. Just a quiet nod across time. Morales slid it into his vest. That night, Keller stood alone near the rear lift. He didn't ask questions. Didn't request a trace. He just looked out over the water and said softly, "She was never here to be seen." Then added under his breath, "She came back to remember something. And now it's done." Morales didn't reply. He looked at the duffel one more time before lights out. Reached into the front pouch. Inside, wrapped in an old cloth, a steel tag worn smooth. On the back, etched by hand, V7. "Do not call. She hears it first." No rank. No medals. Just a warning. Or maybe a promise. By next morning, the space on the schedule next to her name was erased. No one wrote over it. They left it blank. Just in case. No ceremony followed her disappearance. No debrief. No farewell handshake. No note in the rotation logs. She didn't leave a title behind. She hadn't claimed one. But the air changed. Morales felt it most during dusk operations. When the deck lights came on and the engines began their slow, rising growl, not yet full throttle, but building, he'd catch himself listening the way she did. Not for noise, for rhythm. for imbalance. And when something felt off, even slightly, he found himself moving the way she used to. One step slower, one breath earlier, trusting what couldn't be seen yet. The others did too. Crew chief started double-checking Gus' drift without being told. Aviation techs listened longer before calling green, not out of fear, but out of respect for the silence she left behind. Once, 2 new SEAL candidates leaned too close to the edge of the catwalk during a night drill. One tech pulled them back hard. "This isn't a game," he said. "There's wind before danger." Morales heard that phrase before. "See wind first, not fire." He didn't correct the tech. Didn't need to. Weeks passed. The new contractor on her rotation tried to ask who B7 was, after hearing the name whispered once near the tower stairs. No one answered. They just looked toward the far end of the deck, the shadow past the lift gates, where the sea looked flat but carried every memory if you listened close enough. That's where she used to stand. That's where the air still held her shape. Keller came through again before the next rotation left port. He didn't ask about her, but he walked the deck alone. At the end of his inspection, he stopped by the comms crate. Quiet. Then he turned to Morales and simply said, "She flew a Blackout rescue into a place no one returned from, and never once asked to be thanked." Morales nodded. "She didn't come back to be remembered," he said. Keller looked out at the sea. "No," he replied. "But we will anyway."